Released last April on social media, these pictures sparked an international outcry. Dozens of babies waiting for their parents.
They are babies from America, Italy, Spain, Britain, China, France, Germany, as well as from Bulgaria, Romania, Austria, Mexico and Portugal.
All were born to surrogate mothers in Ukraine. Their parents, prevented from traveling during lockdown, could not collect them for several weeks. Shot by Ukraine's leading medically assisted reproduction agency, the video reignited controversy over commercial surrogacy. Our team visited the company in Kyiv. The agency registers more than 300 births per year. Would-be surrogates apply here every day. A baby factory, say opponents. The owner prides on it being the only one in Europe to guarantee results.
Some couples choose the baby's sex. That's forbidden in many countries in the European Union, but here we have no limits. We hope that the law will allow sharper technology to choose the color of the eyes or certain qualities of the child.
Often accused of unscrupulous practices, the man has faced several judicial investigations. He rejects any form of criticism.
Whole countries had banned in vitro fertilization. And now they say that by 2025, every third child will be born from a test tube. We're entering the post-industrial economy. Surrogacy, chips connected to the brain. This is the future.
Surrogacy is prohibited in 8 European countries. Tolerated in others due to a legal void, it's legal in the United Kingdom and Greece on a non-commercial basis. Along with Russia, Ukraine is one of the few countries in Europe where commercial surrogacy is actually legal. Less expensive than in the United States, the reference destination for the practice, international surrogacy in Ukraine is on the rise on a global market worth some 5 billion euros. Over the past 5 years, more than 4,000 children were born from surrogacy in Ukraine, 90% of them for foreign parents. It's a market which the Children's Rights Commissioner in Ukraine says exploits women and violates their rights as well as children's rights. Though legal in the country, surrogacy is poorly regulated and open to bad practice from agencies and intermediaries that flourish there, he says.
Ukraine has become a supermarket for surrogacy. The child is already becoming a commodity, but a woman is an incubator that has to carry this product for someone. If customers, during the pregnancy, decide that they no longer want the child, then she must have an abortion. If she doesn't, all the funds must be returned. If she gives birth to the child and the customers don't want to take it away, she has to give the child to an orphanage because she has no rights to it.
Our team heads for the city of Vinnytsia, some 300 kilometers away from Kyiv. This is where Olga, a sports coach and bodybuilding champion, lives. She's also the surrogate of a little boy to whom she gave birth in July for a Chinese couple. At no time did she feel exploited, and the medical follow-up was impeccable, she said. Surrogacy has changed her life and that of her 13-year-old daughter.
Alice. I
came to this in order to no longer live with my mother and to buy myself a small house. To do that, I would have had to work here for a very long time or go and work abroad. I didn't want to leave my child behind with her grandmother or someone else, so I didn't think about it for long and chose to enter a surrogacy program. So that in 1 year, I could buy a small house. In the beginning, I did it for the money. Of course, it's true. But once I was pregnant, I felt I was creating a family for someone, and my thoughts changed. Money is good, but giving someone life is even better.
We asked Olga if it had been difficult to part with a newborn child after carrying it for 9 months.
I understood from the start that the child should be given away. Therefore, there were no maternal feelings, emotions throughout the pregnancy. I have my own child whom I love and have emotions for. There was only a sense of responsibility, that I've been carrying someone else's child for 9 months and that I need to pass it over. Of course, it's very cute when you see this little baby. It's very moving. But I understood this child was someone else's, that he had a dad and mum.
My mum gave a new life. I think that's great. For me, it's positive. I'm proud of my mum.
A few days after this interview, the parents of the child carried by Olga, who'd been stranded in Wuhan for 2 months by lockdown, were finally able to take their baby in their arms.
We say to her thanks. Thanks very much. And we call her loving mum, not surrogate mother. She helped us to achieve this, to have a child. We're very, very grateful.
We move on to France, where many couples have chosen surrogacy in Ukraine. Céline and Maxence are real estate agents. They've been married for 10 years. After discovering Céline's infertility, the couple tried to have a child through assisted reproduction techniques for years. Their many attempts at insemination and in vitro fertilization failed. Surrogacy was their last resort. The couple went to Ukraine this past summer to start proceedings with an agency which they say is reliable and safe, both for them and the surrogate.
Anyone who can imagine that whatever the situation, you just need to pay, and that's enough to get a child, that's not it at all. Really not. You really have to have a real problem and medical reasons to be allowed to access surrogacy in Ukraine.
We don't buy a surrogate. We don't buy a service. There are real medical reasons that are verified. For him, donating his sperm, there is a health check. And for me, there needs to be a medical certificate proving that I'm infertile and unable to bear a child. I have the impression that sometimes people think that someone's child is stolen. This is completely false. Because although the surrogate mother bears the child, it's in no way hers. She is not the mother in any way because it is not her genetic heritage. It's either the eggs of the intended mother that are used when possible or from a donor when a donor is needed, but it is not her own eggs.
Céline and Maxence took a loan to make their dream come true, a dream worth 70,000 euros. But nothing could have deterred them. They say surrogacy should be legal, just like all assisted reproduction techniques.
For me, surrogacy is a technique like any other. There are women who are born without a uterus or with serious uterine abnormalities. Why should they be penalised when other couples and women who have problems with the quality of their eggs, or men who have problems with the quality of their sperm, can be helped?
We're talking about people's life projects. We're talking about a little baby this long. Okay, maybe a bit more. Which changes the lives of many couples every day. Why not us? Can someone explain and tell me why? Why don't we have the right?
The response of opponents of surrogacy is uncompromising. They say the trade exploits women and challenges the notion of traditional parenthood. Arguments that are shared by a number of leading French intellectuals. René Friedman is the scientific father of the first baby born from in vitro fertilization in the country 38 years ago. He fought for the right of single women and lesbian couples to access medically assisted reproduction. But surrogacy is a red line not to be crossed, he says.
For someone like me who's carried out thousands of deliveries, who's seen and lived that moment, the person who gives birth is the mother. And then when you get into a trading system, it means organisation, intermediaries and exploitation. So I prefer to focus my efforts on improving assisted reproduction techniques and medical research so that there is less infertility.
Still, science cannot and should not solve everything, says the professor.
You can't overvalue genetics. We don't always have the answer, and we can't provide answers to everyone beyond all principles. There are 40% of couples who come to us who will never have the child that they desire. We must also accept that we can't just do anything at any cost. Research is ongoing, for example. We are developing uterus transplants. There won't be a solution for everyone. It's complicated. Where does the uterus come from? Who donates it? All this isn't easy, but at least there's no business involved.
In the new French bioethics bill of law recently passed in the National Assembly, there is no question of lifting the ban on surrogacy. A new amendment, however, confirms the obligation for so-called parents of intent who have no biological link with their child born via surrogacy abroad to go through an adoption procedure in order to be recognized. Sylvie and Dominique Menson fought for 19 years to be recognized as the legal parents of their twin daughters, born through surrogacy in the United States. Their children's American birth certificate was not recognized by French courts as Sylvie Menson, who suffered from infertility, resorted to egg donation. The only option would have been adoption, a no-go for the couple.
It's discrimination between man and woman, between father and mother. To say the only possible mother is the one who gives birth is going back centuries. It's making childbirth sacred to the detriment of raising children, wanting children, being at the source of birth, being what's called the mother of intent. And that for us was not acceptable.
It took years of legal proceedings and a ruling against France by the European Court of Human Rights for France's highest court to finally acknowledge the couple as legal parents. A textbook case. Dozens of so-called parents of intent have since benefited from the full transcription of the birth certificates of their children born abroad by surrogacy. But the new bill of law might make adoption compulsory again.
Today, there's still an attempt to punish children, to make people believe that it will prevent French people from going abroad.
They think it's a deterrent. In fact, it's not at all dissuasive, since people, when they want children, they're ready to climb over mountains and cliffs. They'll do anything for that. What matters are the children's rights. It's not normal that they're discriminated against. Our children have been called the ghost children for years, the ghosts of the Republic. They were here, but they were not. They didn't exist anywhere in the records. And that makes everyday life complicated. It's not normal either to have to go abroad to have children. France could very well organise it at home here on a voluntary altruistic basis. To stop all these crooks, these agencies coming from who knows where, who deceive couples and tell them lies.
The message we always wanted to get across is that surrogacy is a human adventure. It's about human bonds. We've remained great friends with the wonderful woman who helped us, because she's someone who really matters in our life because of what she did, and we mean a lot to her because together, well, we did something extraordinary.
This is a feeling shared by their two daughters who, like their parents, want surrogacy to be legalized.
The fact that I was born by surrogacy didn't affect me too much. What did affect us was the fact that my parents were all the time in a legal battle, having appointments all the time, wasting time taking care of our papers instead of taking care of us. It never stopped. It was exhausting for them and for us, because we always had to see them exhausted, angry and frustrated. Surrogacy, when it is done in a country where it is regulated and supervised, is a solution. It brings happiness to a family that cannot otherwise have children. And that is a solution, it's not a choice.
Giving surrogacy a legal framework which could protect all stakeholders is what a group of 100 French personalities advocated in a joint appeal. Among them, Geneviève Delézy de Parseval, a psychoanalyst and bioethics expert.
Our society is constantly changing, yet there's a block on procreation. While at the same time, now, everyone wants children. I think we can live without children, but everyone wants a child. So we must help our contemporaries so that these children are born in the best possible conditions. These are indeed not simple stories. They're complex. Not so complicated perhaps, but complex. There's a lot to understand. I believe that what matters to a child is that it's been desired, that it's respected as a subject, and that everyone involved is respected, including the surrogates. There should be no confusion between reproductive cells and the human subject. The psychoanalyst doesn't care about cells. The human subject matters most.
We end our journey in Italy, where surrogacy is also prohibited. Andrea and Gianni live in Milan with their 6-year-old daughter, Anna. They married in 2013 in the United States, where they were able to start a family through surrogacy.
For us, it was the crowning of a dream of love. I think that if someone asked me what was the most beautiful day of my life, I would say the 2nd of August 2014, when she was born. Finally, we fulfilled our dream of becoming a full-fledged family. I wanted a child. He wanted a child. I must confess that 2 embryos were implanted. We could have had twins, but it wasn't the case. If I was a bit younger, maybe I would have had another one.
It took a year of legal battle for Andrea and Gianni to get their daughter's US birth certificate transcribed, recognizing them both as Anna's legal parents in 2018.
For us, there was a happy ending. However, there are still rulings that are being reviewed by the European Court of Human Rights, because situations like ours are frozen at the moment. That means there are children who have 2 parents in real life, in their social life, in the eyes of their schoolmates, of their neighbours, of everyone. But they are not legally recognised.
Anna knows the family history well. How were you born?
From the belly of our friend.
And what's her name?
Christy.
And did you meet her?
Yeah.
Is she nice?
Yes.
Do you like having 2 daddies?
Yes, very, very much.
And who's the nicest? Daddy Andrea or Daddy Gianni?
Both of them.
She's very diplomatic.
2 Men and a Cradle, the title of the book Andrea wrote, in order to make mindsets change, but most of all, for Anna's sake.
I want her to one day be able to read and understand her story. I think the most important thing is to convey to her as much love as possible. The most important message we want to get through is that our family is full of love.
What I also want to say is that children like ours are very much desired. Of course, children born naturally can also be loved in the same way. But our children are born out of a very strong choice, which is reaffirmed day after day. There's no doubt the strength of feeling. The dedication is maximum. There's no other way I can say it.
Ehi, una pazza. Questa è una pazza.